Hi, I'm Stuart. Welcome to my YouTube channel. In this video, I'm going to talk about my 2023 reading stats and my 2024 reading goals. I use Storygraph to record the books and pages that I've read. Storygraph does a reading wrap-up at the end of the year, and that's where I'm getting these statistics from. In 2023, I read 78 books and 22,535 pages. The first book I read in 2023 was The Adventures of Captain Hatteras by Jules Verne. The last book I read was The Bad Guys, The Furball Strikes Back by Aaron Blabey. The mood map on Storygraph shows that the books that I read got darker as the year went on, but there was a little bump up toward the end of the year. Storygraph says, you delved into dark and intense narratives, embarked on exciting adventures, and rode a roller coaster of emotions. And most of the stories developed at a steady pace. I read 9 books in May and September. Those were my high months for the year. I read 3 books in November. That was my low month of the year. I read 2,704 pages in May. That was my high month of the year. I read 1,338 pages in November. That was my low month of the year. The graph that follows shows how my reading varied through the year. My top 5 genres were classics, horror, fantasy, science fiction, and romance. I don't expect classics to be my top genre in 2024, as I don't plan to read as many in 2024. The longest book I read in 2024 was The Brothers Karamazov, Bicentennial Edition, a novel in 4 parts with epilogue by Fyodor Dostoevsky. It is 845 pages long. The shortest book I read was Disney, Liv and Maddie, Double Trouble by Alexi Rials. It is 81 pages long. The average length of the books I read was 285 pages, and it took me on average of 16 days to finish them. My quickest read was Annihilation by Jeff Vandermeer. It took me 2 days to read the book. The most time I spent was The Vampire Lestat by Anne Rice. It took me 88 days to finish it. The authors I read the most in 2023 were R.L. Stine. I read 6 of his books. Anne Rice, I read 3 of her books. And Jules Verne, I read 3 of his books. I rated all the books I read on Storygraph, and my average rating was 4 stars. I had 9 5-star reads in 2023. The 9 books are shown in the following graphic. I talked about my top 10 books of 2023 in a previous video, and all these 9 made the top 10 if you're interested in my thoughts on them. The distribution of my ratings is shown in the following graphic. My ratings range from 2.5 stars to 5 stars. I only had one 2.5, the others were 3 and above. Compared to 2022, the number of books I read increased by 105%. It was actually 38 to 78. And the number of pages I read increased by 94%. The charts that follow were generated from my reviews. The first chart shows how I judge the mood of the books I read, and the second chart shows how I judge the speed of the books that I read. Storygraph also generates a list of the components of my most highest rated reads, and those are shown in the graphic that follows. My reading goals for 2024 are to read 90 books and 26,000 pages. I have kind of a stretch goal that I like to read 100, but I haven't made that an official goal. I want to read more books than I buy so that over time the amount of books I have will go down, especially the amount of physical books. To help me do this, I've established goals that from mid-December through the first 3 months of this year, I'm not going to buy any new books unless there's some specific circumstances, such as a book is part of a virtual event that I buy a ticket to, or I need to buy a book specifically to learn about some topic. Then after March, I'll establish some more definitive goals. But I still haven't established how many physical books I have, so that's something I'm working on. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. I plan to upload videos about once a week. The main thing I'm going to talk about is books, but I'm also going to talk about other interests I have too.